we have anyone in the waiting room? Good.
Okay, great. And so we're up?
We're up.
Awesome. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Cadet Mejia.
Cadet Drake.
Welcome to week 3 of the DET for 2 podcast. Taking a bit of a chiller tone today based off of last week's crucial conversation with Connor Hoffman. We're going to really just delve into some of the cadet life that happened this week. Some of the things like the FD kind of questions. Just honestly, the stuff that's happening this week and these next coming weeks is pretty much the main topic of today's podcast. So quick reminders just for, again, cadet life stuff. If you haven't submitted your workouts, please go ahead and do so. Those who do COB today, as well as get in any of those absence forms and stuff you guys need to turn into your flight commanders. Make sure you get all that stuff turned in. Just housekeeping as the week comes to a close. Don't want anyone to get in trouble. Without further ado, we can just kind of get into some of the happenings around. I know we had our FD
recently
this week. I took mine yesterday. Did you do yours earlier in the week? Or
I took mine on Tuesday, and then on Tuesday and Thursday I helped out Cadet Garcia's team, and we did the spotter for the route, basically just come on through with the flashlight or whatever. But so we did that. And you took yours yesterday, you said?
Yes, I did. So that was, and then I just did the workout this morning too, the 3 miles. So I'm a little burned out from that. I don't know how any of y'all feel about the running trail. I know I talked to a couple of you guys that were out there that did it for the first time. It's kind of weird, I'll be honest. Like if I didn't do it last semester, I would not have been familiar with it this semester. I know that killed like a minute or so off a lot of people's times, especially y'all that went on Tuesday. I heard it was cold, a lot colder on Tuesday.
Oh yeah, it was freezing.
It was fine. It was fine for me. I was straight chilling, man.
Yeah, Thursday was nice. It was nice yesterday. I would say optimal weather on Thursday for like the best possible weather. But yeah, obviously it was just a PFD, so don't stress that if your time went up a little bit. You'll most likely run a lot quicker on that flat, even track that we do at the Park West field. So
yes, that is always fun. I love doing the FA when we are actually doing it there because it feels like a whole event.
Oh yeah,
it's all, oh my gosh,
it's more official. Definitely. Bang of the day, by the way. It's going to go and open this so I don't interrupt Cadet Mejia while he's talking. Need that caffeine. So what else is going on? I guess we did our get well message for
yes, with Lieutenant LaGuardia. If those of you are not familiar with her, Cadet Drake, me, and Okada all here met her when she was a cadet. She was a senior when I came in as a freshman, and you had her for 2 years now, right? You were able to experience?
She was 300 when I was 100, and she had more of like a lower level job, like so more interaction, I guess. Mm-hmm. And then she was a wing commander when I was
the wing commander the spring of was it 2019, right? Yes, 2019. She pretty intense. That was actually the semester that I was able to do that wing staff takeover. Was with then Cadet LaGuardia, now Lieutenant. So if y'all haven't, or thanks to all y'all that did submit your videos, and keep her in your mind and pray for a speedy recovery for Lieutenant LaGuardia as she's recovering through this, and just kind of keep her in your mind. She's a tough being, to say the least. From the interactions I've had with her, and the time that that couple weeks, because that whole time that we were doing the wing staff takeover, it was just constant communication. And she really cared. She really cared about the DET when she was doing that. And I'm sure that translates very well into her active duty life. Yeah. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Get well soon, Lieutenant LaGuardia. We're all rooting for you here.
Everyone here at DET for 2.
What else? I mean, around the DET in terms of like housekeeping or like basic stuff that's been going on, I think that's about it.
The cadets have been doing the Fto interviews. That's coming up for a lot of y'all. And in my class as well, for all the deferred 300s out there, if you haven't been prepping your warrior knowledge, jump on that. I am going to be honest, I'm guilty of that as well. It's a lot of my time I spent on my, engineering major here. I spent a lot of time using all those, numbers. And I was like, you know what, I need to jump back into the warrior knowledge train because those are coming up. And it's going to be kind of spicy.
I can't imagine that. Being a 300, getting ready to go through FTP. That's a lot, but you guys are gonna kill it. So keep pushing FTP. I came in the auditorium yesterday to get the video for Lieutenant LaGuardia. And I told them, what did I say? I said something like, all right, be happy. Don't, you get like 5 seconds of no FTP here and then back to FTP. And they seem pretty happy to be able to smile and like cheer her on and everything. So that was good. But
you got to chill for like a tad second.
Oh, yeah. Good job. Good keeping it up. Keep doing your thing.
A lot of that. Now, man, FTP doing that whole shebang again. I know I was talking to a couple of the 300s again earlier, but yesterday. So I think one of the cool things, and I think everyone here at the DET feels, is just how good it feels to be back in these in-person labs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, ever since last week when we had our first one, it just felt right to just jump back into that.
Definitely.
I totally feel the energy back with everyone jumping into this, and gosh, I just like being able to see all of y'all again. I mean, I don't know. What do you feel about jumping right back into that?
It definitely makes everything go by faster in a good way. Like, for me personally, I like being able to stand up, walk around. You hear that yelling, that warrior knowledge. Like, it's just part of the DET 842 experience, and you can't replicate that online. I mean, you got to be there for it. So, I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. A lot of people are happy to be back in person, and just keep pushing for that. I mean, I just didn't really like the computer stuff too much, like sitting there for just for Lead Lab specifically, because it's a really long time to be sitting there looking at a screen, and I don't think us as humans are really, I mean, obviously we had to because of COVID and everything, but it's so nice to be back and like having that real interaction and being around people. It sounds basic or something simple, but I just like it a lot more.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, what's weird is, and then for y'all 200s going through FTP, when you go through field training and come back as POC, when you get those salutes, it's wacky.
Weird, yeah.
It's wacky. I'm walking around trying to take pictures with y'all and the other PA team, and the GMs here just saluting. I'm like, oh my goodness, I forget.
Yeah. You got to get back into that military mindset, all that good stuff, like customs and courtesies and all that, for sure.
Speaking of all that military mindset, I know we had some requests to kind of break down some of the chains here at the DET. So we're going to go ahead and start off and break down the mission support group. That's our MSG. Group staff is, our wing staff is with Cadet Sanchez Barbosa. He's our group commander. You see him on wing staff. And then directly under that, if you're not too familiar with the chain of command, I'm trying to see if I can find it on here. Somewhere lost in the Slack chat that we have. But the way that our kind of chain breaks down is, under your group commander, you have your squadron commanders. Under your squadron commanders, you have your flight commanders, and then it just depends on how many flights a squadron has. So MSG has 3 squadrons right now. The Honor Guard, Force Support Squadron, which is us, and then there's another one that deals with all of the LRS. I think that is just what that is, the LRS squadron. Or it's the Logistics Readiness Squadron. That's what the LRS stands for. With Cadet Seniel. Actually, I can pull that up. Yeah. Just looking for, Logistics Readiness Squadron. So what each of those different sections, different squadrons do kind of varies. So with Cadet Seniel, Logistics Readiness Squadron, like IRL Air Force, I had some family that works over there. My father specifically is a first sergeant there, and they handle like all of that. We get our uniform items from there, but in Big Air Force they do a lot more. Vehicles as well, personnel, all that kind of stuff. Anything that deals with trying to get something somewhere, those are the kind of people that they really go to.
Very important job.
Yeah. I mean, heck, if you're wearing a uniform Tuesday and Thursday, you thank them for that. The people that work with that. I think they also work directly with Michiano.
Oh yeah.
Lot
constantly
going around.
Shout out to LRS, by the way. I know we saw something either the beginning of this week or end of last week about how quick someone went in there and said it was their quickest LRS experience of all time or something like that. So keep that going, LRS. We see you. Everyone is counting on you guys, so we appreciate that.
Please, because I walked in there, I got my uniforms and I was gone, and I'm like, okay, thank goodness, because before it'd be like 10 minutes trying to wait and get my stuff, and I'm like, all right, please.
Definitely.
But they're good. Right after LRS is our chain, the Force Support Squadron. I'm the Force Support Squadron commander. Cadet Drake is the Public Relations Flight Commander. Directly under him is Cadet Okada, here behind the camera, and Cadet Murphy as well, which is working cross-on liaison. And then the second flight is the resources flight, which was actually an IG chain. And so they kind of pulled it over. You see a lot of the org chart, if you guys pull it up and check it yourself, compared to the previous ones, they actually moved 2 chains from IG under MSG now. Because Honor Guard was an IG thing. And so is Resources Flight, if I'm correct. And so they moved them now. So Resources Flight is in charge of PWO, your Project Warrior Officer, Cadet Gearhart, who's working very hard to get you all the stuff you need to Honor Flight and Warrior Flight. As soon as we can find those pennants. We've been having some issues here this last week.
Somebody wanted it. Someone took it too seriously. They were like, "We get it forever." Someone took
honestly, at that point, we're gonna have to find which. Talking to the GMC, whoever was on our flight last time, you better speak up because we haven't been able to find that pennant. In like a week.
Someone stole it. Hey, but for real though, good job, Cadet Gearhart. Good job keeping it motivated, and we're gonna have him on here eventually, so he'll be able to talk to us and maybe hype it up a little bit more than usual.
yeah, definitely. He spoke to us directly. He wants to try and get out here, and if that's something y'all would see, Cadet Gearhart wants to talk a lot more about the PWO system and the other things that are going on, just kind of get with y'all. It's really cool to see that kind of happen, and the more interaction that y'all have with him, the easier it is for him to work with you guys and find out what he can do to help y'all. Because a lot of what PWO does, it's kind of like morale. If anyone's familiar, or I like to make the comparison to a first sergeant in terms of they're not necessarily the same in their positions, but they kind of do the touchy-feely side of things. Your first sergeant works with the commander and your chief in the active duty Air Force to kind of solve issues. First sergeant will deal with personnel, stuff that they're going through. If people are having like issues with their health and stuff like that, or like mentally not there, they would go to the first sergeant to kind of work all that kind of stuff out. And so the reason I compare it to PWO is because PWO is also in charge of the morale and welfare of our detachment, in a sense, because they are creating that warrior system, that honor flight system to help incentivize, to help get, you out and active and move and ready and willing to move forward. And that's very similar to First Sergeant. They're in charge of the morale and welfare of their unit, of the squadron who they're a part of. So help them out. Help them help you is what I would say.
Definitely.
Because Cadet Garrett has a lot that he wants to do.
Yeah, we're the friendly PA guys. That's our job. We're open and everything. But if anything, Cadet Gearhart's going to be the same way. He's here to, boost morale, like Cadet Mejia said, and all that good stuff. So he will not bite, and I know he's really motivated to work this semester. So make sure you guys hit him up if you have any questions about that stuff, and let's try to figure out where the honor guard,
the honor flight. As soon as we find out where the pennant is, and then. The other person underneath that chain is the event coordinating officer. So if you aren't familiar, like previously in the detachment, how event coordinating kind of works is cadets are just like chosen. And so like that happened to me. I was in charge of doing the drop night for last semester, which unfortunately didn't happen because the jobs never came in until like this year.
Tragic.
So you're like, you'll just be appointed, and you're like, all right, go do a thing. And it's like, okay. To try and kind of alleviate the issues that you may have in terms of, all right, who do I contact? How do I work with these people? Now we have this event coordinator position with Cadet Sabatu, who's essentially like, all right, if you need to talk to this person, I know, X, Y, Z, these are your resources. Or, you want to go do this, all right, I will get you in touch with this people. Or you want to go talk to this chain, I can help you out. They're kind of the mentorship role is what that position is envisioned as. And really just a mentorship, active mentorship. And that's it for the resources flight. And I don't know if you want to say something about public relations. I mean, I can talk about it, but you're the flight commander here. You've been doing most of the stuff for the last 3 weeks.
Public relations, we just get a lot of stuff done. Shout out to Cadet Okada. I can't thank Cadet Okada enough, especially, and Cadet Murphy. Cadet Murphy has a crosstown job, so she does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff where she makes sure that other schools are being contacted and gets that networking out and works a major seal. But really, honestly, Cadet Okada is doing a lot of work. He does all the tech stuff. He's the go-to guy for that. So anytime Cadet Mejia has anything for me, because he's my boss, him and I just work on stuff. And I try to do a pretty good job of taking some of the workload, too, and helping him out with stuff so that he doesn't get too overloaded. But it's a pretty small group. It's just us, just me, Cadet Murphy, and Cadet Okada in the flight. So we try to do as much as we can and keep pushing, and the days definitely go by really fast, and the days are definitely really long, but I love it, and it's been good to be involved in something that we're real passionate about. So
Yeah,
that's as much as I have on our chain, really.
They do a lot. So I mean, now we got roped into helping run Lead Lab too. So
Yeah, we're doing
you guys have more than likely seen us all around here, like slightly stressed out, running around, trying to fix camera issues and whatnot. You will see us walking around rather fast, just speed walking from A to Z, from A to Z, just walking around trying to get all this stuff done. In the main auditorium, so if you're ever in that main auditorium, you will see Cadet Okada, Cadet Drake, and I. They're setting up, and then Cadet Okada kind of runs the show. We step off. Cadet Drake goes around, takes pictures, and I'm in the other room with the other AS300s. And so for y'all that kind of see the stream outside, that's funneled through us.
That's all us.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Fun stuff.
Well, I know, coming off that topic, if you have any other questions about that, or you're someone who's like really curious about how POC work or what we do, or you want to help, again, just DM one of us, or DM me on Slack, because we had a question about that. So hopefully that kind of answered your questions. If there were any terms thrown around that you're like, oh, what does that mean, or anything like that, just ask us and we'll help you out. So going on, I know Major Farrell really wanted us to talk about the rated board and all that good stuff for our current 300s, and then anyone who's commissioning FY22, not with the current class of 400s. So a lot of people that were in my class of 400s, myself included, for whatever reason, you have a longer degree, you need a little bit more time to finish school, anything can happen. We basically get moved back with the class behind us. And now I know it'll happen for the 300s now. I'm sure a good handful of you guys are actually going to be moved back to the class with the 200s. And by move back, I just mean your commissioning date or the time that you go up for your board if you're going to go for the rated board. So basically, like in my position, most of my classmates, you'll see them walking around with their flight suits on and all that good stuff. They already did their rated board and they were on time and all that. So they've known their jobs for what, like almost a year?
Yeah, they've been running through all that.
Yeah, so it's been so last March, I believe, was when they found out their jobs as 300s. So for me, I'm going up with the current 300s, and the past year since then, I haven't known my job. So I'll be going up for my first rated board, and I know we got questions about like what you do, how hard is it, do you have any tips and things like that. So I can just kind of run through what you have to do and like all the things you need to check off real quick. So one of the first things is Mr. Haynes is like really big for the flight hours, pick some score, paperwork, make sure everything gets turned in, and he's awesome and he's here all the time. And he'll give you real talk. Like he'll tell you, he'll tell you how it is, which I told it like he told me how it was when I was going through the process, and I really respected him for that, and I appreciated it that he was straight up with me and he let me know what my possibilities were. So if you have any questions on like technical things or like, hey, where do I turn my flight hours in? Anything like that for all you 300s and even the 200s right now that already have their EA allocation and they know that they're going to go rated, this is important. So make sure you talk to Mr. Haynes if you have any questions about that stuff. But so with him, like I said, it would be flight hours being turned in. You do have to take the TBAS. If you don't know what the TBAS is, it's just a hand-eye coordination test that you take. You can't really practice for it. You can't really go into details on what it's about if you've taken it already. So the most I can tell you is it's a hand-eye coordination test, and as with a lot of these things, the way to help yourself do better, even just for the like aviation knowledge part of the AFOQT, you got to just go fly a plane. So if you have the resources and the time to get up in some flight hours, if you think you're really passionate about flying things, and it's your passion and that's what you want to do, I would highly recommend investing a little bit of your time and money into getting some flight hours. Even if it's just 2 or 3, you might go up in the plane and be like, oh my gosh, this is scary, or you might love it and want to do more. And if you don't have time and money, or if you don't have money for that, which is completely understandable, we're all college students, there are always opportunities being sent out. Hint, hint. You'll see something from PA team soon in Slack about getting up there and possibly getting some incentive rides and some flight time with Civil Air Patrol. So, there's no excuse at that point. If you're a good cadet, you take care of people, and you have all your boxes checked, and you're it'll put you higher on the list to go ahead and help you get out there and get some flight hours in. For like 100s or 200s that might have no clue what I'm talking about, in short, we have these things called incentive rides where you can actually get up in like Air Force planes and jets and things like that, which are awesome. That's a more of a like for the experience thing. And then there's also CAP, which is Civil Air Patrol, and they work with us directly, and they'll get you up in a Cessna with one of their instructors or one of their leaders. I know he has more insight on like how Civil Air Patrol works. So if you have any questions on that, you can ask him. But basically, you go up there and get some flight hours, and you get you a little logbook, and they'll sign off, and you can get real flight hours for free through ROTC. So I did it with Cadet Orozco like almost probably 2 years ago now, when I was like a 200 and he was a 100, I think.
Yeah, that's been a minute.
And it was a long time ago. And me and him, I carpooled with him. He just wanted to ride with me, or for whatever reason we went together. We hopped in my truck, and it was just the cost of gas for me to drive 30 minutes, 45 minutes up north out of town to a little airport, and you'll just meet the contact that's a Civil Air Patrol and get some flight hours. So that's a huge opportunity. Like we said, hint, hint, keep an eye on Slack. We've been tasked with distributing all that this semester. So you'll definitely want to get in a plane, get some flight hours, make sure it's for you. The other thing that can hurt a lot of people or surprise a lot of people is your medical stuff. You got to be squared away medically. You got to be, what I like to say, blessed medically, because that's just the matter of fact. We're humans, you know. Some people are just, blessed or lucky or whatever, however you want to put it, to have, not have any ailments or any just small things that can disqualify you. So don't get your hopes up or get too, I know what plane I'm going to fly, I know this, before you go get checked medically. You're going to do a number, you're going to do your DOD-MERB if you're a 100 or a 200 right now, if you haven't already, for a scholarship, and they're going to check you over and everything, and you got to have your vision checked and your hearing checked and things like that. So make sure that you're medically cleared and you take care of what you need to take care of before you get too much into like, oh, I'm not going non-rated, I'm not interested in any of that, because you never know. And sometimes medically you could just be unlucky and get dropped from certain flying programs, if not the whole rated board, for something medical. And that's not really anything you can control. Just stay healthy. Don't do anything too dangerous that you could do to hurt yourself.
The three Ds, right? Don't do anything dumb,
different or dangerous. So that's another thing. Obviously, all of us, the military is very strict on medical standards already. So chances are you're pretty good here if you're already in the program and everything. You don't have any crazy issues or anything like that. But definitely make any medical issues that you have, when they question you about it, or if you go in for a physical, make sure everything's clear so that you don't get disappointed down the road. Because we have had classmates who have, let me go check my cadet surf, and then it's like, what does this N mean on my form? Oh, it means you can't fly, so you want to try to figure that stuff out as soon as possible so that you can give yourself more time to think about other options before.
Try not to give yourself that ability to be surprised.
Exactly.
And find out what happens like the day before. You're like,
yeah.
Now I gotta change my preference list.
It's rough. Definitely. So keep your eye on that. So I went over the medical, the flight hours, getting a plane. Like I said, no one's going to be able to really tell you what's on the AFOQT or what's on the TVAS, because it's not allowed. But you can fly a plane and it'll help you out a lot. The AFOQT, real quick, I've glazed over that. But if you don't know what that is at all, or you're curious about it, it's a test that we all have to take to qualify as officers in the Air Force.
Air Force officer qualification test.
You can buy a book to study. You can buy them anywhere. You can get them on Amazon. Group studying is prohibited. And there are plenty of people at the DET who have, had to take it multiple times. They do a super score now for math and verbal. So it's broken up kind of like an SAT. There's different categories that you take on the test, and math and verbal are the ones that can tend to give people issues, and they super score it now, which means, say you take it the first time and you're not too good at math, you don't make your math, but you crush your verbal and you do everything else you want on the test, all the other portions, you're good. You'll come in again and you'll have a chance to take the test again, and they will take the higher score, or they'll take your next score and apply it if it's higher than your old score.
One thing you got to keep in mind, though, is that rated section of the test.
Oh,
they
of
only
course.
take your most recent rated
Yes.
scores. So if you did like super good on the first time and did the second time, that's the risk you're taking.
Exactly.
Going forward to do all that kind of stuff.
And I can attest to that. I recently did that. It's a gamble. You have to be smart and you have to make sure you're prepared. So what happened to me was, like, I took it a second time. Unlike a lot of people, I didn't need to take it a second time because I passed my math and my verbal the first time I took it, and everything else. So the second time I went up for it, I knew that risk. I knew, okay, cool. My math and reading are verbal are super scored. Say for some reason I have a bad day and bomb them, they'll take the higher score, which is what I got the first time. But the reason I took it a second time is to raise my aviation knowledge and all of the other the basically the rated stuff, because you're tested on categories that directly apply to the rated board and like what jobs you can get on that test as well. So I went up and I raised all my scores, which was awesome. So, you just got to make sure that you're tracking all the little nuances and rules and things, and make sure you talk to cadre if you're thinking, oh, well, I passed the first time, I'm going to take it again. There could be a gray area there. So make sure you talk to cadre. They're friendly. They want to help you out. But we want to, the point of this little conversation here is to try to make sure everyone is aware of as many little things that can get you knocked off the path of getting a rated job.
Yeah.
So
you want to smooth that out as soon as possible,
Definitely.
Regardless of, when it comes to dorm room stuff, usually cadre will approach you to start that around your second semester-ish, depending on if you're going for scholarship and stuff like that. They already start hammering down. Because you need it for field training. You have to get all that stuff done to get your EA slot and other things. But the sooner you jump on these things, it just makes your AFROTC career a lot easier. I was able to get my funny story. Okay, kind of funny, not. So, the my doctor that had a lot of my records passed away, and the thing is, I never saw the dude. He checked on me when I was baby, but there was some information that they needed from him. Actually, no, it was the first grade. I take that back. I wasn't complete baby. I was just a small child. And so I had broken my arm, and I needed to get those records back. Unfortunately, the doctor had passed away. But we didn't know that, and apparently they lost all those records.
Oh.
And it was a series of a month or so long process of trying to track down addresses, weaving around. All right,
Oh, yeah.
I need to drive to this location, calling them. Do you have no? Okay, let's check. Yeah, it was wacky.
It's little things like that. So make sure you have everything checked off, everything, all your paperwork. Do anything you can to make sure that you make yourself competitive. And if you find something out or something happens to you and you're like, oh, wow, maybe, Cadet Johnson over here is going through the same thing, or maybe let him know, don't screw this up like I did, So definitely make sure you have all your T's crossed and your I's dotted. And then the only other thing I can think of for the rated board is PT scores. Those go into the rated board as well, and that's something that you can always control. Like Colonel, I believe it was Colonel Hoffman. I know there was a couple different cadre members who said on the first lead lab, we don't stop because of COVID. There's no excuse to be out of shape. Anything like that with what we can do. You can work out. The police aren't stopping you from leaving your home. There's no one stopping you from picking up some weights and doing some push-ups in your apartment or your house. So
you can talk to some of the POC I know from my class. If literally they're like, all right, I Amazon ordered weights.
Yeah,
they're here now. And I'm using them. In my dorm.
Yes. So there's no reason for you to be hurting on the PT test. You need to keep up with that. That's just a part of the standards, and that does go into your rated score. And you'd be surprised how much your physical ability how important it is, especially if you want to get a job where you're actually in the cockpit of a plane, because of the G's they pull and things like this. I didn't realize this until recently, but the modern pilot is usually, especially fighters and things like that, if you're a CISO in a really fast plane that pulls hard G's, they're in really good shape. They work out every day. You have to have good cardio endurance. You have to be strong because of all those forces that are going to be applied on your body. So they look into that, and if you're not meeting DET standards, if you're not meeting Air Force standards, let alone our standards, there's no excuse for that. You can bring your scores up. And if you have any questions about that, DM me or anyone that you know that's good at fitness. The same way when I was a 100, I asked Cadet Wilson, who's really good at warrior knowledge. Hey, Cadet Wilson, please help me out with this, So use your resources and talk to your people. I've seen it. You see cadets drop or whatever because of PT, and a lot of the times they say they're going to come back, but, you only see that happen, every so often, and it happens. You get good stories. I saw a cadet recently that we lost him when I was a flight commander because of PT. He was an awesome cadet, and he told me when he left, I will be back, and I'm going to bring my PT score up. And I saw him, and it just made me so happy. Like, I told him, like, respect, he's still a 100 or whatever, and I was just really proud of him, and it's doable. So there's no reason to quit, and there's people all around you that have gone through, a fitness journey, essentially, and increasing their scores. So
you can talk to almost every POC has struggled with this at least once. They've come under the, like, super strong, like, shield that comes out and is like, all right, boom. It's like,
definitely.
Yeah, so chat, communicate, work with your friends. I mean, workout groups help. I did that with a couple. My 100 and 200 year, we did that. So we just had a couple friends just to try and keep active. Because I know the first time I took the FD, I bombed the sit-up portion. And that, I was like, oh no. I was so depressed thinking like, oh my goodness, I'm not meeting standards. And that really motivated me to just get off my butt and do something, And so you'll find a lot of that similar feeling just with the COVID scenario right now. You just gotta get off your butt, get off your butt and do something about it. There's no point sitting around because you're just gonna gain that weight.
Exactly.
Sitting on your butt.
And the only other thing for the rated board is GPA and grades. Make sure that's locked in. That was like I just remember it from when I came here my first time with my initial interview with Mr. Yano. I just remember it ringing in my head. GPA, you got to have a good GPA. You can talk to all kind of cadets here who have gone through issues, plenty of POC who've gone through issues with, I failed a class or my GPA is not high enough. And, just because you get a low GPA your first semester here or whatever, it's not the end of the world, but you got to focus on school. And we need to also bring our GPA up collectively just for our, ranking among the nation. We get that brief. I'm tired of it, you hate to see it when you get that brief at the beginning of the semester, like, hey, we're so-and-so, in the country, so we need to get our grades up and make sure you take care of that stuff. So, if the rated board is a motivation for that, let it be your motivation. We got to get our grades up and keep pushing.
Speaking of just some of the RNC stuff in general, I know Cadet Okada has a story he would like to jump up and tell about concerning PT. I'm going to go ahead and take out of the seat. I'm going to jump off, let Okada jump in here and talk a little bit about it, because he actually has some things he wants to chat real quick. I'm going to switch this board. Okada, you can jump in here.
There's Cadet Okada right there.
Oh, finally in front of the camera.
There it is.
It's crazy operating stuff from behind and then jumping on, seeing what you guys see. I put in the little document when we're chatting. It's kind of how we keep up with like chat and different topics of what we're going to talk about, as we have some documents on the side that are like real time, so I can communicate with these guys without having to talk and interrupt the podcast. But since we were on the topic, I figured I'd share a couple stories, and I shared it with them, one of them earlier. I know we're talking about grades and GPA and stuff like that, and then PT as well, I guess. So for the PT one, we'll go in a timeline order. Like Cadet Mejia said, pretty much every POC has a story with PT and their struggles and whatnot. For me, in my case, I was in high school, senior year of high school. I heard about the HSSP, which, if you don't know, is a high school scholarship program. And I really wanted to apply for it, so I did. And part of that program, something you need to turn in is a PT test, administered by a coach from the school. So I had the basketball coach, I think, come out and test me. And I think I failed every single portion of the PT test. And that was super big because it was the last day to take the PT test before the application closed, and I was not thinking straight, and I waited till the last minute, and I took it, and like, not to mention there was 40 or 30 mile per hour winds when I was running, so my run time was like 15 minutes. I think I busted out like like 30 push-ups and 30 sit-ups, and so I bombed that, and I was like, man, there goes a scholarship. But fortunate enough, I was able to get it, so I don't know why they didn't dock me for that. I guess PT is one of those things like Cadet Drake was saying, that it's something you can always work on. Just because there's different circumstances doesn't mean you can't go and improve yourself. So I guess that's what they looked at. They said, you know what, checks out everywhere else. You just got to go to PT a little bit more and he'll be fine. But moving on to the grade one too that I mentioned, it was my freshman year, first semester, brand new 100. So like I said, I just got the scholarship first semester in ROTC, and I was super heavy into games, like video games. Like I was playing everything. And in the DET lounge, we had an Xbox, and then I think we also had a PlayStation at one point. If not, then we just had
everything. Yeah,
we had a bunch of stuff in there, and it was a social place to come to and just kind of play games with everyone and talk. And I think the new Spider-Man had just dropped. Black Ops 4 Zombies was still a thing, so we were messing around on that, and I just remember being like super heavy into that, not really focusing on school, thinking I could breeze through it like high school.
Like high school.
Yeah, just walk in, take the test, do some homework, and call it a day. That was definitely not the case. I should have listened to all the POC giving advice back then. And so I got a pretty low GPA. I don't necessarily know if I want to mention the numbers, but it wasn't good enough to I had to take a strike on my scholarship essentially. So think about first semester 100, taking a strike on the academic record, and if you don't know, we call those academic CEs. So do you know what CE stands for? Something, I don't know. Something event, I assume.
Yeah.
Conditional event.
Conditional event.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes.
that's what that is. Essentially, I had to report into the commander's office, which at the time was.
That's not fun.
Colonel Rendell. Yeah, I barely knew my reporting procedures too.
Oh.
But yeah, I reported in, and I just got cooked for not focusing on school. But those are my two like awakening stories, right, where I had to check myself and really get back into the groove and be disciplined, be focused on all things school, physical, ROTC, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I figure since we were on that topic anyways, might as well just mention those stories.
Yeah, thanks for that, Cadet Okada.
Yeah, no problem.
It takes a lot of it takes something to come up here and talk about stuff like that. Yeah. And we were talking about that last night, and I kind of just boiled it down to, we're all adults here. There's a reason we're here. This is a very professional organization, and sometimes that's just what it takes. You haven't screwed up since. He took it on the chin, as they say it, and he fixed himself. So you can always learn like that, and it's awesome that any of you GMC watching can learn that from him. I've had some of the same stuff. I've had grades that I didn't like, and I've just when I was a freshman, I may have gotten upset with professors and things like that. And now at this point where I'm at, I learn how to work with professors a lot better. I learned not to burn bridges or get upset over certain things. And you'd be surprised if you just talk to your professors about grades and stay on top of it, you can really make it work. So definitely don't be afraid to ask for help. I know that's a cliche. We say that all the time, but no one's going to be upset with you for having low grades if you're trying to fix them. So, yeah. That's awesome. I think the other thing we're going to talk about was stocks. You're going to give me a little breakdown, because I'm a complete noob to stocks. But before we talk about this, disclaimer, as you've probably seen everywhere on the internet, this is not financial advice, but I think we're going to have Okada give me a little rundown on kind of what's been going on in the news and all that good stuff, and what he thinks about the GameStop and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I guess we could delve into that a little bit. Part of the reason why we had this topic was because we have a Slack chat, if you haven't found it yet. It's just called Stocks, and that blew up pretty much as soon as the whole GameStop Reddit thing like popped off too. And so we were talking in the POC chat about stocks, and I forgot who it was, but someone was like, hey, can y'all scoot this to another thing, because not everyone's interested. So we made a chat, started talking about a lot of stocks, and yeah, Cadet Drake, I think you joined it, and you were like, man, I don't know anything, but I'm just here to kind of see what y'all are talking about, learn that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hype when you're hanging
Yeah.
out and the guy next to you is just swiping through his phone for an hour. He's like, I just made $2,000.
Right.
It's like, what? Like,
Yeah.
okay.
Teach me how to do that. Right?
Yeah, or teach me how
Yeah.
to do it. Or just like, I'm a little bit interested in it. So.
Yeah. I think, man, there's a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to stocks and investing, and I personally like. There's a bunch of different strategies. I have my own. Everyone in that chat has their own strategies, and with those specific strategies, it's a whole like different ball game for each person, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, I'm one of those like long-term holders. I look for companies that I'm just gonna buy into now, wait a few years,
Slowly increase.
right,
Okay.
right, and then play the dividend game, which
Okay.
is pretty much it. And so, if you don't know, right, so there's, I guess, two types of stocks, right? There's the dividend stocks and the non-dividend stocks. This is super simple. And so one stock you buy into and they give you a percentage, it's and they pay you out a dividend, right? It's kind of like a savings account. If you think about opening up a savings account with, I'll use USAA for example. I don't know their percentage yield, but they'll give you like 2%. Well, that's kind of high. 1% on your money every year, right? Mm-hmm. So if you put in, I don't know, X amount of money, you're getting 1% of interest back on that money, and that just kind of keeps stacking.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, okay, 1% is like super small, but compound interest is super powerful, right? So the more you have in there, the more you're getting on interest, and then if you just keep compounding that,
mm-hmm.
you're getting more and more each
yeah.
time. So with stocks, my game is, okay, I'm going to look for some really good like dividend stocks and use that as a savings account, because historically they have higher percentage rates than a savings account, right? I mentioned a savings account has 1% percentage rate, so you're getting 1% interest. Some stocks go up to like 7%, right? So
mm-hmm.
that's 7 times the interest that you're getting.
That's
so
good.
Instead of putting it into a savings account, I'm buying the stock and then playing the dividend, and then I'm just reinvesting what they pay me in interest back into the stock, so that my $100 turns into $110, just
mm-hmm.
turns into $150, and then you just keep going, So that's kind of my game. A lot of the game that we're talking in the stocks chat though is like the day trading stuff, right? Like like looking at the dips and like getting in low and then selling high, like that type of thing. And that's where the whole GameStop thing comes in. If y'all don't know, or we're too confused on the social media stuff about GameStop and AMC, and there's a few others, right? I think it was like, I don't even know, Nokia I think was one of them, and then like
AMC.
some naked brand, yeah, whatever. So essentially what happens is you have these people who run hedge funds, and what they do is they short stocks, and what that means is they bet on a falling stock price, and that's how they make money. Mm-hmm. They say, okay, we have this stock in GameStop. These are random numbers, I don't know them off the top of my head, but let's say the GameStop stock was at $10. They're like,
mm-hmm.
okay, that's companies like probably going out of business,
mm-hmm.
Just the way that things are looking culturally. So we're putting some money saying that it's gonna keep dropping all the way down to like $1, right? And so they're betting on that, so they're making money when it's dropping. Well, what happened is there's a bunch of people on Reddit, and like I said, this is super simple. It's more complicated than this, but there's a group on Reddit, right? And they're like, okay, these guys are betting on the stock dropping. Let's pump it so that they're losing money. Like let's I guess stick it to the man type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like these guys are making millions and billions of dollars off of betting off of like dying companies. So why don't we make them lose money, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was the big picture thing. So that became big because then the GameStop stock is like inflating, and all of these they called them the suits, which is basically the people on Wall Street who were losing money because they're betting on it falling, and now it's rising. So now they're like, oh, like this is bad. Like we're losing our money. That was really big in the news. So a bunch of like this wave of new investors came in and were like, let's do the same thing. And so they rocketed up again, and then the suits are losing so much more money. And that's essentially what happened, right? So you have these people saying, all right, this stock's falling. I think it's gonna fall, or continue to fall. I'm gonna place my bet saying like, yeah, this is gonna die out. And then you have just thousands of people coming in and rushing and inflating the stock price, and now it's like up. I don't even know how much percent. Like it was up crazy.
And then correct me if I'm wrong. So like with the GameStop thing specifically, it's slowly going down, but it's because everyone's selling it to cash out, right? Is that
right? So when you get into that kind of stuff, I guess I did a poor job of explaining the shorting the stock thing. So shorting a stock is basically like let's say your laptop, right? Let's say it's valued at $1,000, and I come in and I'm like, hey, Cadet Drake, can I borrow your laptop for like a few weeks? And you're like, yeah, sure. Like I'm not using it right now, whatever. I take your laptop, and essentially I like give it away, right? It's not mine. I have to return it to you, but I give it away for like $1,000, and then I'm saying that okay, the price will probably like go up, and then and then I'm like, okay, well, okay, no, sorry, I'm like getting off track. So I take your laptop, $1,000, I like give it out, sell it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait for the laptop value to drop to $800, right? And when it does, I'm just gonna buy it back at $800 and then return it to you.
Gotcha.
So now I made $200 in profit because you didn't lose anything. It's still your laptop. I gave it back to you, but I sold it for $1,000 without you knowing, and then I bought it back for $800, and now I made $200 profit. That's essentially what shorting a stock
Gotcha.
is they're borrowing stocks that's not theirs, and then they're selling it at a price, waiting for it to fall, buying it back, and then giving it back to the person.
Oh, okay, I see. Gotcha.
So when it comes to the selling it to cover their losses or that type of thing, is when the wave came in to invest on these stocks, right? All of these like short sellers were selling the stock at, like, again, these are random numbers, $10, waiting for it to go to $5 so they could buy it back and give it back to you. Now what happens is when people come in and invest, they're inflating it up to $300. So it's like, okay, I sold it for 10 and I have to buy it back for 300. Like that's a lot of money on a bigger scale of things.
I see.
So that's where they're losing their money. They're like, shoot, like we should probably just cover like what we lost. And so that's where you see the $7 billion like of like lost money. Yeah.
So that's it right there. That's a wrap up. If you have any other questions, you can get in that stocks channel.
Yeah, it gets pretty deep. It's hard to explain like the whole story without diving too much into it. But yeah, and I guess that's a simple rundown of all that stuff.
Sweet. Well, I know. Okay, so to switch topics, our president recently made the choice to push on with the Space Force and keep the Space Force going and support the Space Force.
Right.
So if you didn't know, it's usually like when a president comes on, they have a chance to sign off on a bunch of things to basically reverse the policies of the previous president. So in terms of the Space Force, because we know Trump created the Space Force, but it's been in the works for a while.
Right.
And for in the way of affecting us, this is a good thing that the new president continued along with the Space Force and is supporting it still. So basically, he also, it's kind of hard to explain, but we could at some point kind of be sucked back into the Air Force in a certain way. So, but he chose to continue the Space Force and the funding and everything and keep it independent. So for any Space Force hopefuls, it's just only going to get bigger. And it makes a lot of sense that this president, and I'm sure the next president, is going to continue along with the funding and everything of the Space Force, or else it would have been kind of a big waste, like
redundant.
We would have done all this stuff, made the new uniforms, paid the millions of dollars for the Space Force, and then it's like, sorry, no more Space Force, or sorry, go back to the Air Force. Yeah. So if you didn't know, the Space Force is continually being supported by the current administration, and I can't see it getting dropped off in any way. Like, I guess the closest thing to that would be like how we kind of slowly cut down on NASA funding because there wasn't a reason to, but the Space Force is the future as of now, and there's a lot of different career fields. And just going back to the rated board, for any maybe younger cadets or newer cadets that didn't know, there is a 13S AFSC, which is the Space Operations Rated Officer career field. And as of now, it's most of it is flying satellites. So it's kind of like an RPA. You've got a daily routine, and you're not necessarily being deployed as much as other jobs. And
physically,
you just go fly satellites. I mean, how cool is that? I googled it real quick to see how it works in the in the civilian world and everything, and I couldn't even find information on it. Like, that's how new this is. So if you want something new and you are really excited for space, or you think that might be something you can do, with this article that basically is confirming that we're going to continue funding the Space Force and all that good stuff, it's looking good for you. So maybe if you realize, oh shoot, I've got a couple N's on my cadet surf, my eyes might not be good enough, or I might have an issue that keeps me out of planes and being a pilot, RPA and 13S right there. They have a lot less strict rules, or not a lot less, but the rules are a little bit less strict for people because, your body isn't being exerted or the forces of flight and all that good stuff. So keep an eye out for 13S. This is just good news for the Space Force. I've talked to an active duty Space Force colonel and a non-rated Space Force enlisted non-commissioned officer, and they both had nothing but good things to say about the Space Force. They were very excited about it, and they were just so excited to tell me about it. And it's just a good community, and it's a very small community right now.
Yep.
So it's really easy to get to know like people that can really help you out and really tell you what you need to know. Like, I got a lot of wisdom from the colonel I talked to, and I got a lot of knowledge from the NCO I talked to about how the Space Force does day-to-day operations. They're choosing the new headquarters, which is going to be Mississippi, right?
Yeah, I know San Antonio put in a bid for that, but I think I'm not
yeah,
sure
they ended up sticking with, or no, I think it's Alabama if I'm correct. I need to look that up real quick.
Sure.
So, anyways, the new Space Force headquarters is going to be in Huntsville, Alabama. That's where it's going to be. Huntsville, Alabama has a very rich history in rockets specifically. We had some really good scientists in the 20th century who were just revolutionary and boosting our rocket knowledge and just basically putting us ahead of the game from everybody. And this town in Alabama is known as a rocket city, and they chose it over maybe like Cape Canaveral or some where NASA is usually at, or maybe even like Houston, like over there on the coast where there's a lot of rockets, because the city and the people there just love rockets and they just want to support the military. So it sounds like a great place to be.
Yeah.
They're just only going up, and that's like I said, their new headquarters is over there, and it's just looking good. So if you find out, I'm not eligible for some of these rated jobs in the Air Force, the Space Force is looking for people, and especially if you have like a tech degree, like you have a tech degree, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Cadet Okada can speak on that. Like any of the tech degrees, your chances of being picked up are a little bit higher. So definitely.
Yeah, it makes you a lot more competitive. Did you see the new bases? Just speaking of the Space Force, or not the new bases, but they're like 6 main bases that they have in the Space Force.
No, I haven't seen that yet. I just know about Huntsville.
They're pretty nice.
Good locations.
Yeah, the only 3 states are Florida, California, and Colorado.
That's where everybody wants to
right
be.
Yeah, so
in the military, from what I've seen.
Yeah, so those are some pretty nice assignments. And I interviewed a space officer a few days ago, and he was just talking about how you still have those other opportunities to go overseas and stuff, just like in the Air Force. So you can still, you're not stuck to those 6 bases. You can still go out and see the world.
That's awesome.
That's super cool.
Yeah, Space Force is really cool, and it's a really good opportunity.
It's exciting.
100%. They do some really cool things. What else is going on? Vaccinations, just general news. Vaccinations are going up for COVID. They're getting them out. I think the target number was 100 million, and they're working on getting to that number right now, so that's good. Hopefully, that affects us, and just, the quicker we can get back to all in person, quicker me and Cadet Okada can be talking without our masks on and all that good stuff. So that's good to hear. They're working on that right now. And that's some news. We've only got about 7 minutes left. If anyone watching has any specific questions, you can drop them in the chat and we can answer them. We received a good amount of feedback and questions on that Google form that I put in the wing chat. I'll release it again in case you were watching this and you're like, dang, I really wish they'd talk about this. Send it. We got y'all. We hear you. We saw all the questions. And if we didn't get to yours, it's strictly because we need a little bit more time to get information. There was a question from a cadet about, what are some more like low key or less known about non-rated jobs? And that's an awesome question because there are a lot. Yeah, the quote unquote non-desirable or just not known very well. And there's a lot of really cool jobs. The only reason we didn't get to that is because I want to get a lot more information for you and do some research on that. So we hear you, and we're taking suggestions from all of y'all. I see Cadet Salisbury here said compound interest. He gave an Albert Einstein quote about compound interest.
Yeah, compound interest is the most. I'm on that wave. I think it's the most powerful tool in the world. You think about you have this interest and it's going on. It's compounding your money and it just keeps going. I don't know if you're big into math or whatever. I'm a math degree, so I kind of
suck
geek
at
out
math.
sometimes. But like a graph, right? We all know graphs. It's looking like it starts super slow, and then boom, it just starts skyrocketing. So that's what
Exponential. It's
Yeah,
exponential,
yep.
right? Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
That's super cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, well, that's about it for me. I mean, if
Yeah.
you don't have anything else, we can just kind of do a little outro here. You got
Nothing
any
else in
other
chat?
info?
Nothing.
Yeah, I don't see anything in the chat.
Sweet.
So
I guess real quick on top of the feedback stuff, Colonel Hoffman did mention to us that he's going to answer some of the questions that we got.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're one of those cadets that sent in a question, follow up to the crucial conversation, he's going to type that out to us, answer us, and then we can push that out to you guys as well.
oh yeah, we're working on that. Colonel Hoffman, we really appreciated having him to come in and all that
That was
good
awesome.
stuff. He obviously had a really good conversation with Cadet Mejia, and we're gonna continue that. We're gonna have Mr. Haynes in here soon. I think he's
Yeah,
the next
this month,
one.
right?
Yes, I love Mr. Haynes. Like I said, he's gonna keep it real. He's gonna tell you how it is, and I'm really excited to hear some
Yeah.
stories because that man, he went almost
ton
all the
of
way through the
stuff.
ranks on the
Yeah.
enlisted side of the Air Force, and then restarted on the officer side, and
Yeah,
almost
why
all the
not?
way through the ranks there too. So, Mr. Haynes is awesome, and I can't wait to be able to hear from him.
And we've got we're trying to pull some new people from different areas of the active duty Air Force
Oh,
to
yeah.
kind of come in and talk to us. So we got some cool stories and some cool people lined up for you.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll definitely have more people on soon, just so you don't
Yeah.
have to hear us talking. But
About cadet stuff.
yeah, for sure. Well, if you have any other questions, like I said, about rated or anything like that, or anything we said kind of like
Yeah.
worried you or made you like, oh, that might pertain to me, just message me on Slack. I'm open. We're the friendly PAO people.
Yeah.
We're not here to bite, all that good stuff. So with that, I think we'll just go ahead and wrap it up. I don't know if you want to, or cut me here. You're back there still, right? Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, that's it. Make sure you tune in next week. We're going to take any feedback you guys give us and apply it and make it look better, and the podcast will only get better. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Thank y'all for coming out.